It can be really intimidating looking at American employees that you're going to need to pay 60, 70, 50, 60, 70, $80,000. And this is a way, literally $3, $4 an hour can change your life drastically. Most jobs are in, cities, and you have to go on public transit in dangerous areas, and it can take you hours to get from. A lot of my virtual assistants personally are up in villages and mountains, and it takes them 1-2 hours to get to the local cities. And there's not a lot of virtual jobs in the Philippines. So I think part-time work equals part-time results, part-time commitment. So full-time work locks them into working for you. They're 100% committed. You can post a job up, say 20 hours a week, but make sure in the interview process and in the description you say future full-time work mandatory or future full-time work expected. If you have more than one of those people that you like, you're just gonna have to make a gut instinct on whoever you liked more. Just know that's a part of business. No hard feelings. It's going to happen. Hire slow. Hire someone good through that process I taught you guys, and then fire fast. It's really no big deal. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Apke. In today's video, we're going to walk you through hiring virtual assistants for as little as really $3 an hour and how they can help scale your business and your overall life just from outsourcing in general. It can be really intimidating looking at American employees that you're going to need to pay 60, 70, 50, 60, 70, $80,000. And this is a way, literally $3, $4 an hour can change your life drastically, and you can scale up your business using virtual assistants. Virtual assistants has helped me personally scale multiple businesses to 7 and 8 figures, and I know they can do the same for you. And it's something you guys, if you are not already, should definitely be taking advantage of. And this is going to be a step-by-step of posting your first job on the software and hiring your first virtual assistant. I'm going to walk you through step by step, how to hire, the steps to go, the interviewing process, and what everything looks like, along with some top questions that we get about this topic as well. And I think this is for you whether you're looking for a full-time help, someone 40 hours a week, or just a few hours per week. It's all the same process. And over the years, I've hired, tons of virtual assistants, anywhere from customer support, video editing, executive assistants, marketing, sales, analytics, and much more. They can do so much for your life. I know people who have executive assistants in the Philippines who order their groceries and things to keep them locked in on work, keep them locked in on what actually drives the needle and what actually is driving your business forward. And that's the whole point of this, is outsourcing. This is the very first position you should outsource, as a general virtual assistant in this business model. And you can outsource all of the low value tasks that are easy to do, and you can build them up so they can do more complex tasks as well, or pay more to get and we'll get into all that, or you can pay more to get a more technical virtual assistant, and they can do tons of stuff. And, from the Filipinos average, I get this question a lot, especially in the YouTube comments, people asking about, calling us bad people for hiring them for $3, $4 an hour. But you guys got to realize the average income in the Philippines is $350 a month. And $3 an hour puts it near $500, which is well above the national average. And, for general virtual assistants for $3 to $4 an hour, versus if you're going to hire someone more technical, you're going to need to pay 5, 6, 7, 8. So it depends the job. And we're going to get into that, like I mentioned. But from their perspective, this is over the national average. It doesn't mean they're going to be rich from $3 an hour. It just means they're going to be living comfortably. But also along with that, most jobs are in, cities, and you have to go on public transit in dangerous areas, and it can take you hours to get from. A lot of my virtual assistants personally are up in villages and mountains, and it takes them 1-2 hours to get to the local cities. And there's not a lot of virtual jobs in the Philippines. So coming from their perspective, to be able to work from home can be it's actually is life-changing. They don't need to commute for hours and hours every single day on sketchy transit, and it's just not a good work-life balance for them. It's just, I've hired so many, and I see it's a home run deal for them. They're all very happy from my perspective and my experience. They've all been very happy, and it's much more balanced life than going to a job, going to work every day, taking hours and hours to get there, taking buses, all that stuff that we talked about. And secondly, they're not forced to apply. The market's the market. We recently got 50 applicants in just a couple of days from posting our job application on onlinejobs.ph, which we'll go over in this episode. But those 50 people were posting because it's desirable to them, because this is a job that they want. It's not like they're being forced. And I know you guys understand that. I'm talking more about the YouTube comments and different things that people talk about, just people who don't understand don't understand business behind outsourcing. And, I was curious and I was just started browsing on this topic, and we made a Friday video on this topic as well. And I was browsing for Filipino houses. They can get a really nice house for like $100,000. And in the United States, $100,000 is going to get you a house that needs hundreds of thousands of dollars put into it to even make it livable. So, and that was in a desirable area in the Philippines, and it was a decent square. I think it was 4-bedroom house. So it was decent square footage and everything. It was just, you can't compare the market eye to eye. You just can't. Like, the cost of living here is much, much more expensive than the cost of living in the Philippines. So don't compare it eye to eye. Where I do see this fit is for people who are intimidated to hire American employees, want their first virtual assistant. You're doing mundane tasks yourself, and you can start building your list of everything that you can have them do in your business, from emails to, and I can go over some of our old job postings, emails, scrubbing data, uploading your properties to MLS, uploading them to your website. You can scale with them. So you can start with giving them a smaller amount and keep building it up. But hourly rates, I want to go over hourly rates now of what virtual assistants cost. Standard rates for virtual assistants for like a customer service, so just a basic virtual assistant, that's going to be the cheapest option typically. They're usually $3 to $4 an hour. $5 an hour, $6 an hour if they're very experienced, potentially. But I'm telling you, if you post a job for $3 to $4 an hour, you're going to get a decent amount of applicants. And you want to treat them like employees. I don't like the term virtual assistant, because in my company, they're just like any other employees. We treat them like anyone else. We give them bonuses like anyone else. They're incentivized like anyone else. They're employees. We have a video editor. We have a customer support employee. And virtual assistants, I think, is just a general term. But these can be literally the employees behind your business. I sold a company for 7 figures and had not one American employee. I mean, from sales to technical support to customer service to Shopify admin to all the different roles they were doing, I didn't have one American employee, and I was able to build a 7-figure business up from that. So just keep that in mind as you're scaling. You can stay very, very lean if you want to. And American employees definitely have their place. I'm not saying don't hire American employees. We hire American employees all the time but there's definitely something there in business to staying lean. So I'll just put it that way. And then, for leadership down the road, you can hire Americans and things like that as well. But I give them performance bonuses at the end of the year and to incentivize them, just like any other employee. And if you want to pay $5 to $8 an hour, you can get really good, talented employees for technical tasks like software developers, all those technical roles. You start paying $7, $8 an hour, you can get really, really good, solid candidates as well. And in this episode, I also want to teach you how to post a job, where to post a job, and exactly what the market rates are, how to find the market rates for that posting. And just like any market, there's different market rates for different people. Customer support, like I mentioned, is going to be cheaper than a data engineer or something like that. So the market applies, the same philosophy behind market rates applies in the Philippines, just like it does in America. I don't need to go into that. But I do want to touch on full-time versus part-time benefits now, because I'm a big fan of full-time virtual assistants and employees in general. I think part-time work equals part-time results, part-time commitment, right? So full-time work locks them into working for you. They're 100% committed. Part-time, they have other side jobs. They have other things going on. They're part-time employees. They're not committed. They're not as committed. But I do understand in the beginning, you might not have 40 hours of work for them, which is completely fine. And if you don't have 40 hours of work for them now, what you can do and what I've done in the past, and I use this strategy still if I don't have full-time work for someone, you can post a job up, say 20 hours a week, but make sure in the interview process and in the description, you say future full-time work mandatory or future full-time work expected, something like that. And then in the interview, you can ask them exactly exactly if they're willing to go 40 hours. And if they're not, just know they're not going to be able to scale with you. And they're not going to be 40. Why can't they go 40 hours? Oh, they have 2 other jobs. Dig into that and you'll realize. But in general, full-time work locks them in to being 100% committed to you and your business and your mission. But like I said, I understand 20 hours is what a lot of people start with. So that is what you can do, and then just scale up with them. At first, you might just have scrubbing and a couple other tasks for them, and then just keep adding tasks, and eventually that 20 hours is going to be like 50 hours. So you just want to keep scaling with them and make sure they're available to scale, because the worst thing you can have happen, and this will happen, so it's not a horrible thing, but the worst thing you can have happen is you need a full-time person and they won't go full-time, and then you got to fire them and get a full-time person. Retraining is the worst thing that can happen, because it is so, training someone is very expensive from an energy perspective. They're $3 an hour employees, so I'm not going to say it's expensive from a financial perspective, but from an energy and just asset to the company perspective, you want to retain employees as much as possible. All right, now I'm going to walk you through step by step on hiring your first employee. And I've always used onlinejobs.ph. That's the URL, onlinejobs.ph. If you guys haven't used it, go check it out. They have a free option as well. I'm going to pull it up while we're talking here. But onlinejobs.ph has a ton of qualified applicants just waiting to apply to your job. What I like about them especially is they advertise the heck out of, the candidates in the Philippines. They're advertising to get people, kind of like Indeed here, like go to Indeed.com, look for your job, look for your job, look for your job. Similar to that, they do, the onlinejobs.ph does that over there. But onlinejobs.ph is also advertising for business owners in America at the same time, in Australia and wherever else, to go to the Philippines. So they have double-sided marketing, and they do a very good job of it. I've had really good success with onlinejobs.ph. I just hired a video editor on my team from onlinejobs.ph. Very solid so far. He's been working a month, and it was a great candidate. Got 56 applicants on that, and in general, just really good. I've hired customer support people. I've hired Shopify admins. I've hired tons of people off onlinejobs.ph. Don't have any bad things to really say about it. Their software is a bit, I don't want to say janky, because it's capable, but there's just some loopholes in their software. It's not the best software to use from a user perspective, but it's very usable, and you'll be able to do fine with it. So I highly recommend. They have a free option, and just browsing over their pricing here, their free option gets you 3 job posts per month, but only 15 applicants per job, and you're not even allowed to message them. So what I typically do is I get their pro version. It's $69 a month, but you can cancel or pause anytime very easily. That's another reason why I really like them. They do not make it hard to cancel. Hit that pro button if you guys want to do, if you guys are seriously considering it. I'd highly recommend doing the pro and then just pausing it right after. You have 30 days, you have a month to get a candidate. So use that time. That's plenty of time. You just need $69 will get you a really good candidate and a hire. That's not bad at all. When you think of hiring, American employees, if an American employee is $60,000 and you used a recruiting service for it or something, it's much more expensive. Even on Indeed.com, they'll charge you like $20 per applicant sometimes. I've used all of them. I've used LinkedIn. I've used Indeed. I've used Manila Craigslist, which is like the Filipino Craigslist to hire too. That's a free option. Candidates aren't as good. It's a little bit harder to do, but you can definitely hire off the Manila Craigslist as well. But I recommend getting that $69, just pausing it. You have 30 days to do it, and that's all you need. $69 to hire an employee. Not bad at all. And what I do next is, say if you know the position that you're going to hire and you're on onlinejobs.ph, what I do next is what I call like a discovery period of just figuring out the market rate for the position you're hiring. If you're hiring a standard virtual assistant for your land business, or whatever business, land business, you can just type in, customer support or virtual assistant or executive assistant, whatever it is, and you can start to browse and see the trends. Like just browsing here on onlinejobs.ph, I see one for $4 an hour, $4 an hour, $5 an hour, $6 an hour, $3 an hour, $2.75 an hour. And you can get a good sense of what's going on with that. So that's what I use the search bar for. If you want a web developer, type in web developer. But what I will say, this is like Facebook Marketplace. They put their, requirements on there and their hourly rates, but I'm telling you, it's always a little bit less than what they have. It's like they're posting for the max rate, but they're really going to take something less, because if I would have done this with, if I would post the job for $5 an hour if I went from this for a virtual assistant, but I know from history, I can post at $3.50, $4 an hour and get a lot of people. So you can adjust though. So once you post your job, and if you're getting too many applicants, you can put the price down. And if you're getting, not enough, you can put the price up and adjust. But this is kind of discovery preliminary research I do. Just browse through there, see what other people are advertising their rates for in onlinejobs.ph. And the biggest thing, now I'm going to get into whether you're posting on online jobs or wherever. This is the number one thing that I have for you. Probably the number one, I don't want to say hack, but this really is a hack. So like I said, we had 56 applicants coming from that last posting that we did. But out of the 56 applicants, only 12 of them did this. And this is how I wean people out and really get to the good quality applicants in general. I have them answer in a video or audio form a bunch of questions for me. So in my application, I put, to be considered for this application, you must answer the following on an audio or video recording. You can download it or you can upload it to Dropbox, Google Drive, or anything similar and send it in your application. To be considered, this must happen. Something like that. And what I have them do is just answer a set of questions. So I have them answer, what are you available for graveyard shift? Because graveyard shift is what they call their night shift. Because we're working over here on East Coast or West Coast or in America, if you guys are in America, and they're, 11, 12 hours ahead of us, they're going to need to work night shifts. And that's very normal over there. But you have them just answer simple questions like that. Does this hourly rate work for you? Does $4 an hour work for you? What is your home life like? What is your internet situation? Ask them a bunch of questions, and I'll tag in here as well a link to a posting that we can put in there for you. But ask them a bunch of questions so that you can get a sense of their English and competence right there and see if they're a fit. And their English, like if you're hiring a standard VA, you want someone with good English, right? That's a requirement. So you can get a sense. But I will say out of the 56, we only had 12 or so do this. So then it weaned out all the rest, right? So then all, the other 40 something, 44 go away and you have 12 people to work with. And then from those 12, you go through each of those postings, the audio or video, and you analyze, and listen to them talk. And then you take it to the next steps if they're a good fit. And you can get a really good sense from that. That's a huge, huge strategy I always use. It's a great way to filter applicants. Because what they will do, they'll just copy and paste. And they'll take their response, copy to your application, copy to the next application. This is a way to get them, make sure they're reading through the details, all of that stuff. And you'll get quality candidates this way. And then once you do that, so the first step, you put up the application, you get the applicants, you go through their audio and video, and then next is scheduling interviews. So I like to have face-to-face interviews on Google Meet and set all your interviews for one day so you get in that mindset, right? Just do them all on one day. If you had 12 people submit audio, maybe you have 4 to 6 that you liked, set all 4 to 6 of those on the same exact day. So you get in that mindset. And then confirm all the details you did in the audio. Ask them standard questions. Ask them about their history, their past work. When can they start working? Confirm all the details you need. We can have a separate one if you guys like this topic on the interview process and hiring and onboarding process. But for this, we're really sticking with hiring in general and getting those applicants there. So really make sure to just ask any curious questions you have for them. Make sure they're a good fit. Make sure they're competent. Make sure their English is good. All that good stuff. And then what I like to do after this is one more task to filter out some of the applicants. So for my videographer that I just hired, we had them do a short form video for us because he's going to be editing videos. Okay, we interviewed them. We like these guys. Now let's send them one more task and give them a deadline on it. Okay, this is due Monday, March 3rd, March 4th at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Please get me this by then. Some of them might not get it to you then. And if you thought they were a good candidate and then they didn't follow up with anything and they didn't get it to you, that's a red flag. You weaned them out, right? That's another way to filter. So give them a task after that. Give them a deadline. That's like your last thing. So they did good on the interview. They did good on the application. And now they did good on their assignment. That's check, check, check. And that's a really good sign. If you have more than one of those people that you like, you're just going to have to make a gut instinct on whoever you liked more. And, just know that's a part of business. No hard feelings. It is what it is. And, it's going to happen. And then after that, I have a template for you guys I'm going to post up here too. It's in our Friday YouTube video on the same topic, but sending the offer. I have a template I'm going to share of this exact offer. Keep it very simple. If you see here on my offer, if you're able to pull that up, it's really just congratulating them on the offer, and then it goes into all the details, who they're reporting to, their hours, what the bonus structure looks like if they're eligible for bonuses at the end of the year. Is there any PTO? Go into all the details with that, and you know it should answer a lot of the questions that the applicant will have about working for you. What are their hours? What do their days look like? Who do they report to? What does their pay look like? That it'll have the pay on there. Any details that they'll need to know go on this, and the offer letters here. So if you guys want to check that out, I have a link for you guys as well. And then going into hiring and onboarding them. So you sent them the offer, they accepted, or they negotiate. So actually, I want to get into negotiating first, because sometimes they reply and want more money. That's up to you and what you think you can afford. You can always hold your ground and see if they still accept it. Or if you think they're really, really qualified and you want them, they want 50 cents more. What's 50 cents more an hour? So that's up to you. That will happen. A lot of times they will try to negotiate rates though. So I want you guys to be aware of that before going through this process. Next, once you onboard them, and I'm just going to touch quick on this, but training. Let's go over training, because they started, what you want to do to keep it very simple. I mean, training is a huge, huge thing. And like I said, we can have more videos on this, but the easiest thing to do is just start recording videos of everything that you do that you want them to do in great detail. And then when they come on, you can show them the videos. You can hop on a call, show them in person, go over any questions they have, give them the video, and you'll have that video stored forever. So once you have a ton of these videos going over your whole processes and just standard operation procedures and everything else, these are assets to your company that you can keep using. If this employee didn't work out, you fire them, they quit, whatever happens, you have this now for other people. And it also teaches you to put good processes behind things. And then what I like to do, and what I've recommended what was recommended from Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, is just have them create videos on what they do also. And if, let's say, scrubbing data is one of them, since you guys are land investors here, they're scrubbing your data. That's the first task you want to offload from yourself. You record a really good video of scrubbing your data. You go over it in person. You answer any questions they have. They do it. You check their work. It's good. They do it a few times. Have them record a video of them scrubbing like they're teaching someone else. And then it's really ingrained in their head. That's just another little trick Dan Martell mentioned while reading his book. And over time, you can continue to add roles to these people. They don't need to be super one-dimensional. You can keep employees, especially as a small business, they should be doing a lot of different stuff, from emails to scrubbing data to uploading things to random stuff. We have our virtual assistants do so many roles. They do data and analytics for us. They're not organizing the analytics necessarily, but they're getting the data points for the analytics and uploading them in the system. Things like that, CRM management, all kinds of stuff. Land ID links, getting those properly set in Airtable in our CRM, all kinds of stuff. Keep adding tasks over time and adding roles. And if it's straightforward, obviously you'll need a lot less training, like if it's scrubbing. But the more complex and more technical it gets, the more calls you're going to have, the more follow-up, the more errors you're going to see. You're going to have to do it with them side by side, hold their hand, give them some slack, review their work, hold their hand again, go through it. The more technical, the harder it is to train in general. But for just general customer support VA, there's, training's very, very simple. Now, if you're teaching someone to price, which you can get a VA to teach you how to price in America, don't let anyone say you can't. There's definitely qualified candidates in the Philippines you could teach to price. That's going to take a little bit more time, 4 or 5 months until they really get comfortable with something like that, just because pricing is a little bit more technical. And lastly, let's go over some of the top questions we get while going over this topic. So we discussed this. How can they work the same hours when it's 12 hours ahead? That's just normal over there. It's called graveyard shift. Ask them that in the interview, ask them that in their audio application, and you'll get their response. That's very, very normal for them. If they don't work graveyard shift, don't consider them. But if they're applying, they're going to see it in the application. Graveyard shift's required. Have all your requirements there in the posting as well. So how can you make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do? That's a whole nother episode, really. Tracking. It's all about tracking and KPIs. It's a whole nother topic, but we can do another video on that. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's all about tracking, expectations, KPIs, things like that. you'll build trust over time. It's a little harder at first. You're going to be calling them, making sure they're not, doing nothing. And especially as you don't have enough work for them, they might have some downtime, things like that. But over time, you'll build the trust with your employees for sure. If you're working out, how fast can you fire them? I mean, hire slow, hire someone good through that process I taught you guys, and then fire fast. It's really no big deal. Then go get another applicant. If you know it's not going to work, there's no reason to string it on. I've made that mistake many times in the past, letting it string on because your emotions getting tied, whatever, it's normal. But the quicker you can cut it off, the better your life's going to be overall, and theirs, because they're obviously not happy doing it either. How do I pay them? We historically have used a company called Remitly, and we do it bi-weekly. All of this information should be in your offer as well, but we use Remitly. You can do PayPal, whatever it is. We've had good success with Remitly though in general. How do they track their hours? Create an hour tracking sheet in Google Sheets. Keep it very, very simple. You don't need to overcomplicate things. Just keep a simple track of it in Google Sheets and have, date, time of work, hours, notes on task complete, something like that. Keep it very simple. Do you give them PTO and or insurance benefits? No. You can give them PTO over time. At first, I would not. Build that trust up, have them do 6 months of work first, and then maybe give them some PTO. But this is considered 1099 offshore employee or 1099 employees. Really, it's not a 1099 because they're offshore, but you're not required to give them insurance, PTO, anything like that. We do give our employees some PTO after, a certain amount of time, or overseas employees, but that's really up to you. Make sure you're giving them bonuses, things like that. You want to incentivize them properly. But other than that, the last thing we haven't really talked about that I want to touch on is the actual posting of the job. So when you're on onlinejobs.ph and you're posting the job, I know we talked a little bit about this before, but when you're posting a job, you want to give all the requirements. So the first paragraph should be an introduction to your company and your mission and just who you are, what type of company it is, what's your culture. And then after that, hop right into the requirements. So you will be required, or in this position, requirements are 2+ years of experience, blah, 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 blah. And they can get into the role, and then everything they'll be doing in the role as detailed as possible. You can obviously add things, but put everything they're doing in the role that you can think of. And then after that, to be considered in this application, you will need to submit an audio recording. So that's the structure of how the posting should work. And I also have a template for that. If you guys are in our Discord, I'll send it over to you guys. Other than that, guys, that's really it. This strategy can completely, and I'm not kidding, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, it can change your life and business. I remember hiring my first virtual assistants with my e-commerce business, and it just, no more of those mundane, tedious tasks for $3, $4 an hour. So if you guys got some value from this, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you guys want more videos like this, let us know. I can dive into this for days. We have a ton on hiring, onboarding, everything virtual assistants. We have a lot of experience with, so let us know in the comments. But as always, guys, thank you for joining, and we'll see you next episode. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.